it's Lauren. So I wanted to make a video about the pelvis and doing what I call unsticking the pelvis. So there's this thing in movement called disassociation. And basically the idea is, can you move one part of your body without needing to move the part that's right next to it? So let's take the elbow and the shoulder, for example. Can I move just my shoulder without needing to move my elbow? Can I move just my elbow without needing to move my shoulder? Yeah? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. That's like the dime store explanation. So when it comes to the pelvis and the legs, which is what we're going to talk about today, can you move your leg without moving your pelvis, right? Does your leg move on its own, or does the pelvis need to move with it? Now, a lot of this is going to have to do with your flexibility. So if you're inflexible, particularly in your hamstrings, you might find that you cannot lift your leg very far without needing to curl your pelvis to get your leg up. And the most practical example that I see of this on a regular basis in my life as a circus coach is sitting on the ground in a pike or a straddle. So if I'm sitting in a pike and I cannot sit all the way up, it looks kind of like this, right? So here, my sits bones, so your sits bones, right, are these bony butts right in the middle of your butt meat. Ideally, if we're sitting in our pike, we're sitting on them, but if you're lacking that flexibility, you're going to be sitting rolled back with your sits bones kind of pointing towards your feet. And then when you go to try to stretch, you can't even stretch your hamstrings, you're only stretching your back, right? Because your hamstrings are already kind of at their maximum length. So therefore, anything that you're doing in this position is not actually really giving you the benefit that you're looking for, right? Because you've already taken yourself so far into your range of motion that you're not able to express the movement in the way that's moving the parts that we want. Hopefully that makes sense, and if it doesn't, please send me a message. I'll explain it more. So you might also see this in your straddle, where you're sitting in your straddle and you feel like you have to hold yourself up from back here, or when you try to reach forward, you're doing it like this. So we're going to talk about how to disassociate the pelvis from the legs, and what are some exercises you can do to help be able to feel that feeling more, so that when you are doing more involved movements or stretches, you can tap into that specific piece of it a little bit more clearly, or modifications that might give you more benefit now than just sitting on the floor. So we're going to start sitting, and today you're going to need a chair and a yoga block and a mat if you're on hardwood floor. We're going to start just sitting, and I'm going to sit here, but you can sit on anything. And I'm going to let my legs be a little bit open so they are wider than my hips. My heels are underneath my knees, so I don't have my feet back like this, but I've walked them forward. My heels could almost be a little bit in front of my knees. And sitting up nice and tall on my sits bones, I'm going to tuck my tail and roll back, allowing my head to just drop forward, and I'm keeping my knees right over my shoulders right over my pelvis. And then I'm stacking up, and I'm lifting my tail, so I'm arching my back. I know that's a little bit hard to see on this video because of all the black. I'm lifting my head and chest, and I come back to neutral, and I curl. So here, I'm trying to just feel this movement through my pelvis, rocking back and forth. Here, my sits bones are lifted. Here, there's neutral, so down, and here, they're pointing forward. So this is just a little bit of a warm-up. We'll do one more arch. Now, we're going to stand up. We're going to stand with our feet in parallel, maybe in a wide hip stance. So outsides of my feet are the outside edges of my hips. And I'm going to take my hands to my knees, and I'm going to let my knees soften. I'm going to stick my butt out. So here my hands can really press down. And depending on how flexible you are, you might feel quite a bit of stretch here. But I'm really thinking about this butt reaching back. My knees are softened, but my knees are staying over my ankles. So I'm not doing this. Yeah, and I can really push. And I'm going to do that same arching and curling thing. So tucking my tail, and let my head drop a little bit, and then lifting my tail. And here you should really feel a lot of stretch in your hamstrings. Curl, and lift. And this lift, I'm trying to do it from my tail. So if I had a tail, I'm happy. I'm a happy dog. I'm not trying to do it from my back. Hopefully you can see the difference. Here's from the tail. Here's from my back. So try to take that same movement of the pelvis that we found sitting and apply it in a slightly different situation. So then we're going to stand up and we're going to just hinge. So I'm going to break at the hip and I'm going to reach my hips back. And here I'm paying attention to that feeling of lift from my pelvis. So it's not that I'm trying to be all the way here in my arch, but I'm trying to avoid doing that where I'm rounding my low back as my hips go back. So you can imagine something's wrapped around your hip crease and it's pulling you back and you come back up. Think about trying to reach your butt towards the wall behind you and find that maximum hamstring stretch for you. I want my weight on my heels, and my spine shouldn't be changing its shape. It shouldn't be moving. It should be staying still and just changing its orientation to my legs. So my spine is like this, and it just tips forward, but there's no change in the shape. So play with this until you can find your most hamstringy position. Again, your knees should stay over your ankles. They can soften, and you're trying to pull your pelvis up away from your legs. So now we're going to grab our yoga block. And we're going to start by just coming onto our knees in a wide kneeling position. So my knees are open from each other. I'm sitting on my heels. And this is going to be very much the same as what we just did sitting. So if kneeling is really uncomfortable for you, you can do this sitting again or just skip it. Trying to lift the tail and round the tail. So far we've been doing a lot of things with our knees bent or soft because that is keeping your hamstrings out of it. And if your hamstrings are tight, if they're short, that's the thing that's holding you back. So when our knees are bent, our hamstrings are not at their most stretched position. So it's going to be a little easier to find the movement without the tension of your hamstrings. So once we've found that rock, kneeling, now we're going to straighten the legs. So you're going to grab your yoga block. You're going to sit on it. I'm doing this in a really awkward way. You are welcome to do it in a less awkward way. You're going to straddle your legs. And I want my sits bones nearer to the front edge of the block. And here I'm going to rock my pelvis again. So I'm going to curl, and then I'm going to lift, and as I lift, I'm trying to drop my pubic bone down towards the mat. The back edge of your block might lift, and that's okay. Curl, and lift. So if you have struggled with your pancake in your straddle, this sense of lifting up through the pelvis is the thing that's probably been holding you back. So here I'm really trying to let my pubic bone drop down, and I'm allowing my pelvis to get pulled away from my femurs, which are the bone in my thigh. And curl, and rock. So this sense of opening through the legs and through the butt is the thing that we need. I'm allowing myself to come all the way down to the mat here, and then I'm going to walk my hands forward. And here, if I was going to go all the way into a pancake, I'm not warm enough for that yet. My belly button would be the first thing to touch the mat, and I'm keeping my back really flat and thinking about lifting up through my tail. And I'm going to come all the way up, and we're going to talk about the same thing in a pike. So I'm going to go back to sitting on the block. My legs come in front of me. Ooh, I'm uneven. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm sitting up on my sits bones. I'm going to round and arch. Round and arch. And then in my arch, I'm going to hold, thinking about lifting my tail, and I'm going to walk my hands forward, trying to keep my back flat and pull my belly button to my thighs, but without dropping my head. And I'm going to hang out here. Take a few deep breaths. And come all the way back out. And there you go. So those are some techniques for unsticking your pelvis. If you've struggled with flexibility in your pancake or in your pike, or if you find sitting on the floor in either of those positions really challenging in and of itself, here's some tools for you to work on it. Let me know if you have any questions. Comment, message me, send me a carrier pigeon or smoke signals. I'm here for you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.